right before I made that video, I was looking back through some of my previous videos, and I was kind of thinking to myself, I could do better than this. I kind of felt like my videos were a little stale, to be honest.
Hmm.
My own worst critic. And I wanted to do something that was really, you know, incredible. I wanted to, leave a legacy, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I took on, well, first I asked my subscribers what topic they would like me to cover. And I think it was four options. I said I could cover UFOs, I could cover the Mark of the Beast, the Rapture, or I forget what the last one was. And overwhelmingly, people wanted me to cover the Mark of the Beast. And so I spent essentially 4 months, I think it was, working on this video and doing all the research and editing and everything. It took me, I mean, I probably spent 400 plus hours making that video.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it really turned out great. It was kind of interesting too because the first half of the video has a different feel than the second half. And the reason is because the first half of the video, I was moving in a certain direction with the video. And through my research, I drew a different conclusion. And in the second half of the video, I kind of resolved that conclusion. And I left it that way intentionally because I kind of honestly felt like it was a more organic feel to the video anyway. And yeah, it's something that I think most of my audience wasn't expecting, but was excited about. I wanted to make a video that was heavily based on scripture, that was also extremely entertaining to watch. Something that people could really sink their teeth into, even if they weren't as advanced in scripture as most people would probably need to be handling the type of information that I go through in that video. So that one got really good reviews, and I was really happy with that. And kind of since then, I've been really trying to take my videos to the next level in terms of quality and production value and things like that. I have a second channel called Black Rabbit where I upload more consistently for my subs who like more consistent, videos and are willing to sacrifice quality for that. But I've kind of taken the position on my main channel that all of my videos are going to be as high quality as I can possibly do, and it's really kind of, again, just kind of taken my channel to that next level. Right after the Mark of the Beast, I had a big hit with the Illuminati Super Bowl halftime show video. Um,
Yeah.
that one really took off, over 1 million views. And then I had two separate viral hits right after it. I had um, a more specific video about the 2016 Super Bowl, and then I did another video on the Grammys. And all three of those videos, right in a row, boom, 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 went viral. So I had a lot of success in that regard, and my channel has kind of skyrocketed since then. And onward and upward we go.
Amen. That's really cool. And of course, I would suggest any subscriber of mine, anybody who's watching this and is subscribed to me, go ahead and subscribe to White Rabbit because there are hours and hours of information, but also entertainment. Not that entertainment's the main focus, of course, but who wants to sit through a boring video, even if it is incredibly informative. And so you won't find that on White Rabbit's channel. You'll find a lot of information, but that's also entertaining and engaging to watch. You also get quite a few criticisms from atheists and other people who don't share some of your views. How do you deal with them, and how should we as Christians handle bullies and trolls online?
Wow. Well, on my second channel, Black Rabbit, I've actually started a new kind of series called Arguing with Atheists. Because I come from, like I said, like I used to be an atheist, so I know exactly how atheists think. I know the reasoning behind their arguments. I know where they're coming from, and so in that regard, I've kind of found that I'm quite effective at bringing rebuttals to atheists when they object to certain topics I cover. Um, and so I kind of wanted to share that with my audience and give them insight. There's all kinds of apologetics that people can find on the internet. The internet's full of that stuff. And I wanted to approach it from a slightly different angle. I wanted to approach it from more of a this is how an atheist thinks type of perspective. I wanted to go through how it thinks, how they think, the reasoning behind their arguments, and kind of how you should go about arguing with an atheist or discussing with an atheist or whatever. So it's less about actually what you say and more about how you say it. Because the internet's filled with what to say, but I've found that a lot of people approach it the wrong way. They try and force feed it to the person that they're, you know, in conflict with. They try and bombard the person with Bible passages and things like that. And in my experience, that's not the way you do it at all. First, you gotta figure out the reasoning behind what it is that they're saying. You got to realize everybody has their own set of circumstances, their own life experiences that have morphed their views over years and years and years. And take for example, if an atheist thinks that all Christians are non-credible, and a Christian comes quoting a bunch of Christian stuff, the atheist is still, within their perspective, going to view everything that Christian says as non-credible.
Right.
So what you really have to do is argue with them on their ground and show them that their reasoning is faulty using terminology and that's just kind of one example of what I'm going through in that new series. As far as like shills and trolls and things, when I first started my channel, I was kind of a sensitive guy when it came to the comments section. I took negative comments very, very personally.
Me too.
Yeah. And, I learned pretty quickly that I had to grow some thick skin.
Yeah.
And it was tough. It was tough for a long time, and not to bring it up again, but the flat Earth thing kind of shook me to my core in terms of how I viewed the comments section in my videos.
Yeah, same here.
And something just clicked. Something in my head just clicked, and I realized, you can't control what people say. Mm-hmm. You're never going to please everybody 100% of the time. And a lot of people just like causing chaos, And there's all kinds of different factors to it. And for whatever reason, I just got over it almost overnight. And through that, I realized the most effective way to handle trolls and shills and criticism and things like that is to feed it no attention whatsoever. Because a lot of the times, these people want attention. They want, to kind of drain your energy, if you will. And if you just ignore it, it fizzles out. It goes away. And so I would highly recommend that if anybody's starting a YouTube channel or is struggling with this in some regard, just ignore it. They will move on to easier targets, if you will. And the second tier of that is, if you do want to address it, you need to stay extremely lighthearted about it and almost kind of jokey about it. I've kind of made some spoof videos in regards to some of the attacks in the comments section that I've received, and I think that's really the best approach, because nobody wants you to get on camera and start complaining about people being mean to you. That might work for a video or two, but it kind of gets old to your audience pretty quickly.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that, and it's so funny because that's really similar to my experience. I actually shut the comments off of my videos for a while because, when I was first starting to grow my channel and getting a lot more exposure that I wasn't used to, and also getting a lot more comments that I wasn't used to, I used to be really sensitive about it too. And it got to the point that I was like, this isn't edifying. What's the point? I turned off, and it was actually after a flat Earth video. I did an interview with somebody who wanted to talk about the flat Earth theology, and so we talked about it. The interview itself, I thought, went relatively well. Just for the record, I'm a round Earth, heliocentric. Just that's what I am. That's what I believe. And other people believe different things. That's fine. But and again, like you said, it wasn't so much what they were saying; it was how they were saying it. When I start hearing a bunch of things like, "Well, you don't believe in God, or you don't take the Bible seriously if you don't believe the Earth is flat," it's like, what's even the point of keeping the comments on for something like that? So for a while, I turned off comments on all my videos. I have since turned them back on. And like you, it was almost overnight. I got over that and realized, I always have, if somebody's being blasphemous or swearing, because I do have kids that watch my YouTube channel, and I don't want them to have to read a bunch of FUs and all that stuff. I have the option. I can just delete the comment. I don't have to address them. I don't have to say anything. And like you, I found that is the absolute best approach. Don't give them any attention. If they take the time to write like 5 paragraphs of something, and then you just delete it, they're not going to want to write anymore on your channel, because they're not going to want to put all that work in for nothing, for no reaction. They'll move on, like you said. So I found that to be true. And also I agree that nobody wants to hear someone who has a channel get on and complain about their subscribers or complain about their comments. So you do have to be kind of lighthearted about it, because sometimes I'll get comments about because I put ads in my videos and stuff like that, and not everybody likes that. But the way I figure it helps the Sharpening Report as a ministry grow financially, and it costs nothing for the viewer. They still have the option to skip the ad, and I know ads are annoying. I'm annoyed by them. I don't like that we live in a world where you have to advertise stuff 24/7 and you're constantly bombarded with it. But it's the world we live in, and that's just kind of how it works. So in order to help grow the ministry and stuff like that, I do things like that. But of course, every now and then I'll get somebody that'll leave a totally non-understanding, comment that'll blast me for that. And what I've realized is, you're never going to change anyone's mind. No, they if they're taking the time to just be a bully or a troll about it, they don't care what you have to say about it. They just want to fight. So I just block them and delete the comment now. And most people who come onto my channel understand that whole end of it. And my true subscribers, the people that actually subscribe to me because they want the content I put out, they're awesome, and I love all my subscribers, and it's great. So I totally back up everything that you're saying with that on how to handle people like that. I wanted to ask too. You have some. We talked a little bit about evolution. You have some interesting views on Scripture concerning evolution, but also Satan and stars, which is fascinating stuff. What can you tell us about those things in particular?
Well, as far as the whole Satan thing, this is something that I've kind of been looking into recently. I might approach a video in the probably distant future about it, but I was kind of, the word Satan comes from Hasatan, which means the Satan. So it's not a definitive name. And all throughout Scripture, we see, like if you're familiar with Michael Heiser's work, he talks about how, the divine council type topic, and how during Babel, for example, God turned over all these other nations to lesser gods, right?
Yes. Yep. Deuteronomy 32:8.
Right. And so there's all kinds of these, entities out there, if you will. And so, you have Lucifer, you have Leviathan, you have Baal, you have, and then if you go through all the different gods mentioned in terms of who the people were actually worshiping back in the day, you come across a lot of different names in Scripture for all these different entities. And I think a lot of people try and, or a lot of people have this image where it's Satan versus God or Lucifer versus God, you know? And I don't really see it that way anymore. I think the adversary or the Satan is more of a spiritual defiance against God. It's a quality or a trait that possesses certain entities or individuals. And yeah, I think there's a multitude of um, I can't think of the word.
Oh, that's okay. I think I understand what you're saying though, because that actually makes sense and seems to be a common theme throughout Scripture. Such as the first thing that comes to mind is we know there's a spirit of Antichrist that anybody can have. I mean, if you deny the Father and the Son, that's the spirit of Antichrist. But there's also an end times figure that we commonly call the Antichrist, even though in the Book of Revelation he's never called that, or really all throughout the Bible he's never called that. But because he has the spirit of Antichrist, so is it kind of like that same theme there with Hasatan?
Right. Well, that's kind of what I'm looking into right now. So that's kind of my view on that. Not necessarily one specific entity versus God, because that's the other thing. That kind of makes it sound like Satan is even comparable to God,
Right.
and that's kind of something to scratch your head about. Um, but it would make a lot more sense if a third of the angels, for example, and it's just kind of one of those things to ponder about.
Yeah.
But jumping over to the stars topic, this was something kind of interesting that I was looking into more towards the time I was researching for the Genesis theory, and I came across your book, Quantum Creation.
Oh yeah. Awesome.
Right? Is that the name of it? It's been a
Yeah.
long time since
Yeah. Yeah. No problem. Yeah. Yeah. Quantum creation.
Quantum Creation. Yeah, and you talked about dimensional unfolding and things, and in your perspective of angels, correct?
Hmm.
Was
Yep.
that in that book?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and I kind of started thinking about that in relation to stars, and I think I mentioned this to you in a message on Facebook a while back. But you know, Scripture references stars a lot and draws comparison to um, angelic beings, if you will. And ancient civilizations all throughout history have done that. And there's all kinds of different perspectives that you can take as to why that is. It has obviously a lot of pagan roots and things. And I think Michael Heiser's done a lot of great work on this as well. But just like I was saying before, how the Bible contains all truth and that you can certainly derive a lot more from Scripture than just on a theological or historical level, there might be more to it than just, you know, stars being a representative of a specific entity, or specific trait or what have you. So I was thinking in terms of your dimensional unfolding concept that there may be certain aspects to this reality that we can't totally perceive.
Yeah.
With your dimensional unfolding, you were specifically referencing cherubim,
Hmm.
correct? And how the cherubim had the head of a lion, eagle, man, and ox, is it?
Yep.
And I thought that was really interesting, but I also kind of looked at it as though that was a stationary object. That was still one creature in one specific place. But if we're talking about multiple dimensions, then we can also be talking about multiple locations
Yeah.
for a singular being. And so I was kind of thinking in that frame, and then I was also in the Genesis theory. One of the things that I referenced was how the sun is believed by some to actually be hollow and a type of portal, if you will, to another dimensionality, kind of like a black hole. Um, and that kind of got me thinking because maybe the essence of angels can be perceived in this reality through stars. Maybe stars are kind of like the essence of these angels peeking through into our reality.